Top 10 of Anything presents My Top 10 Movies. Season 1 of a new miniseries where each guest builds their top 10 movie list and defends every pick. It's the ultimate movie challenge, just 10 films to define your taste, your memories, your life. I'm Pav, and together with our guest, we'll relive classics, uncover hidden gems, and maybe even stir up some debate. Let's get into it. Have you got your top 10 in an order? Because
I have.
Noticed, oh, that's wonderful. Because there's a last couple fact, we've had of they've just gone. Oh, I've not put them in any order. I've just chose
10.
Yeah.
Oh no, I've put them 10 to 1.
Wonderful.
But in fact, it's a very eclectic. I went through it and I thought to myself, now do I think what do people think are the top 10 films, or do I put my favourite top 10 films? And I've chosen my favourite films, which means that some of them will not appear on any list anywhere.
That's wonderful.
You know, they do. People go, what's that? I love that film. I can't help it.
That's wonderful.
And all those ones all those Japanese and French films that they say are fabulous that I've never watched, I'm afraid they don't come on my list. There you go.
I think so. We'll say hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of My Top 10 Movies with one of my favourite people. He's one of those people that A, you love to look at, but B, you love to listen to because he's got one of those amazing voices. Michael Fenton Stevens is back with us again. Michael, it is an honour to have you back again. Thank you so much.
It's very sweet of you to ask me. I'm delighted. It's very good fun, this podcast.
Yeah, as we were just saying, it's in regards to picking your top 10. I was absolutely there with you when you said do you pick the movies that you think other people are going to say are in like the 10 greatest movies of all time, or do you make it personal to you? And I'm so happy that you're making it personal to you because it means so much more. Like you say, I mean, what you say is your number one movie. Someone will go, I've never heard of it. Yeah,
no, exactly. They probably will. In fact, the strange thing is that you sort of feel that if you chose all the films that everybody else says are the top, if you go through those lists that there are all over the internet, which are incredibly variable, I did look at them for sort of inspiration, and they didn't inspire me a great deal, because I went through one where it said it had actually been voted for by hordes of people, and they were put in a list, and I went through it, and I thought, for the first 20, I didn't know what they were.
Right.
I'd never seen them.
Okay.
So, in fact, maybe you're talking to the wrong person, because my film experience is rather limited in the sense that, one, I don't like scary movies.
Right.
Anything that I know is going to scare me, I avoid. So I think I saw Carrie when I was young. I've seen other ones, Valentine's Day or something. Friday the 14th, I think I may have seen it, but not all of it.
Yeah.
So anything else in that genre, Mark Gatiss would say to me, "You're a fool. You've missed out on everything." But I'm happy that I've gone without being scared. And I do get incredibly scared by them. That's why I don't watch them.
Yeah.
I get too involved. And I know that it's a trick. And I know what's coming almost. And you go, any minute now, something's going to jump out from behind him. And then they'll laugh, and then something else will jump out. And we know what's going to happen. And why are you going in that building when you know there's a mass murderer inside? Why are you not running away and calling the police?
Yeah.
No.
Or at least turn the lights on. You at least turn the lights on and try not to fall over when you're running away, because that's what.
Yeah, and lots of people in films, if there's somebody coming, they go, and there's a rack of knives in the kitchen, so they grab one, and you go, how many times have you used a knife as a weapon in your life? Oh, never. Never, right. Yeah. Oh, so in fact, you will be really rubbish at it then, against a person who wants to try and kill you.
Yes.
Yeah. Best thing to do, run out of the house. Run, keep running, and when you've stopped running, run some more.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Not a great film, but, who knows? It becomes The Running Man.
You're absolutely right, because it always takes you out of the movie when they don't use just common sense.
Yeah.
There is a scary-looking building, and the first thing they do is walk into that scary-looking... I would stay the hell away. It has to have
an enormously high incentive for them to do that. It has to be their child or something. Then you can sort of understand it that they've gone in there. But not grabbing a great big heavy iron bar before you do it, just walking in, going, Peter, it's Mom. Are you here? Shut up.
Yes.
That's my view of it. Anyway, that's scary movies. Yeah. And I'm not very good at watching very long, worthy films, although I do have one of that, well, I suppose it's that genre in my collection, but I don't, I sit and watch and think, so, yeah, very good. It's lovely. And I go, really lovely acting.
Right.
And I hate seeing acting.
Right.
I'm an actor, and yes. I hate watching people act. I like people going, well, I believe that person's a real person.
Yeah.
When there's incredibly meaningful and long pauses in a film, I think, oh, get on with nobody's life is like that. Have we paused? I know we're doing a podcast, but have we paused? Do you ever pause in a conversation? I don't.
Michael, if you want me to pause for you, I would pause for you. But no. I don't want to do that now because I know that you don't like it.
No, and also, if you pause, I'll jump in. Because I feel that conversations should keep going.
Exactly. But then it's funny because I've tried writing movie scripts, and the trouble is when you write things like dialogue, it always sounds too normal. Whereas I'm taking it from what you see in a movie, and like, especially with someone like Tarantino, like every line of dialogue means something.
Yeah.
When you try
that's really clever.
Yeah, when you try and do that, you just can't. It seems like it just sounds like someone going, "Hello, how are you? I'm fine today. How are you? Oh, I'm okay." And it just sounds too normal.
I know. I suppose in a way, you have to look at the situation and rely on the actors to make something of it. If for example, you're going to cast really great actors in those roles, then they will make something of it. They will make that conversation. They will know what it means saying, hi, how are you? Great.
Yeah,
I'm good. Yeah, tea? You like a cup of tea? Yeah. Thanks. No sugar.
Yeah.
That can be a fantastically meaningful conversation if put in the right hands, I think. And if they know why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're asked to say those things and you think, why are we saying this?
So does it become a thing where you need somebody to give you the reason why you're saying a particular line of dialogue then?
Well, I think you need to study a script, and you need to, quite often, if you look at some of the great television dramas that we've had recently, they will have very normal conversations, and it's what's meant underneath it. I find that quite often in soap operas, and I don't blame them for this because this is what they're there for, they will say what they mean.
Right.
They will tell you what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Whereas, in fact, a lot of people don't. In fact, it's a very human nature thing to assume that because you're angry or because you're upset, other people will know why you are. You don't have to say, I'm crying because you did this and that. And what that means to me is this. You just cry. And they say, what? What is it? You say, it's nothing. It's nothing. Forget it.
Yeah. You
don't say, well, let me explain exactly what's going on here. Very few people do that, but they do it in soap operas. I'm going to kill you. I hate you because you said that to my mum. And then when you ran away from the house and all those years ago, the way you looked at me at that wedding, I knew. Right, we're doing a synopsis of everything that's happened in the last 20 years. So that's good.
Right, so is that
just in case people have missed it?
It's a timing thing. You need to get as much information in there as you can.
I think that they're constantly recapping the storyline.
Right.
So for people who've just been away for a bit and come back, sorry, who's this character? Right. Let me tell you who I am. So you do every now and again say, yeah, well, just because I'm your uncle who went off to Australia for a while and now I've come back and I'm running the calf.
I'd never noticed that before, but you're absolutely right.
That's
absolutely
what they do.
Right. And I noticed I was looking through your IMDb before we started talking, and you've done Eastenders, haven't you? Well, you've done Eastenders, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I really enjoyed it, actually. It was very good fun. Although I had very strange experience on it. I did nearly all my scenes with June Brown, who played Doc Cotton.
Oh, right.
Who was an absolute consummate, brilliant actress. Could do a lot with nothing. She was a prime example of somebody who didn't really need to say things. You knew what was going on with her. And so they sort of wrote for her skills, I think. And I played the vicar who buried Ethel, her best mate. Right. But I did a lot of scenes with her where, leading up to the funeral and after that, where she was very upset and I would go and sit with her and talk. And she was supposedly very religious. But I had to do the great big funeral scene. Which was a bit disturbing because I think it was only 2 days into the filming. And I knew some of the people in it a bit, but the whole cast were there, of course, because when you have a funeral like that for such a major character, everybody turns up.
Yeah.
So the church was absolutely full of the entire cast of EastEnders, and I had to do the oration for her. Now, I knew that when I did it, basically what they would be doing was cutting back to me a little bit every now and again, but I would be doing it in voiceover because they would be looking at the people who it was affecting, which is fine. I knew that was going to happen, but it was a very long speech. The director said to me he thought it was one of the longest speeches that anybody had ever done on EastEnders. It was about 7 pages long.
Wow.
Just describing her life, what she'd done, the sort of thing you get at a funeral.
Yeah.
And they were going to, as it got to relevant points, they would cut to people crying or holding each other, hugging. It was a very long, quite difficult. And he started with me. Oh, no, he started with the cast. So he filmed the cast. He said, I'll give you a chance to practice it. I said, oh, thank you very much. So I did it off camera. The cameras were facing the other way, my viewpoint. So they did all the shots of the cast, and I went through the lines lots of times. And then they came round the other way and put a camera at the back of the church and filmed it with everybody. Then they brought 2 cameras and put one near me and one a little bit away, sort of, and eye points of where I would be looking when I was talking to people. So they had various cameras, and we did one more take. So my entire performance was captured on that one take.
Wow.
And when I did that one take, everybody in the cast, perhaps I shouldn't say this because I might never get another job in EastEnders, and it is always possible. But I thought it was strange. I could understand because they're under pressure all the time, but they all got up and walked out of the church, and well, what are called extras, but sporting artists came in and sat in their place.
Right.
So I performed my thing not to the people I was supposed to be doing it to.
Right.
Which is a difficult thing.
Is that a normal thing, though? Is that a normal
It is, I think, on soaps because they're under such pressure. They do so many takes in so many different situations. Same thing happened on Coronation Street, but I completely understood it. I was doing a scene in that. And as soon as the camera came round on me, the assistant took the script and the actor was ushered away to do another scene.
Oh, right.
So they were that busy.
So they have to, because they're churning out like episodes and scenes after scenes.
They had to be somewhere else. So I understood that completely. And I thought, you get used to the idea of acting to a little cross stuck just to the right or left of the camera, which is, they say, well, that's their eye line. So do it to that. Yeah, so you do. It's a strange thing to act to nothing.
Right. I can imagine. As like someone like yourself, who's a character actor, again, looking through your IMDb, you've done so many different things.
Yeah.
Is that how you wanted your career?
Yes, it is.
Start?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than being stuck on one thing and being in something for like 10 seasons or.
Yeah, I mean, now looking back, I wouldn't have objected because my career has been a constant search for the next job. Right. I've always gone from job to job. I mean, eventually I stopped worrying about it because it seemed to happen. Right. Without me really making any effort. So, yeah, I've enjoyed the process of doing lots of different things and right through the whole gamut of theatre and film and television. I've done basically every genre, I think, which is really nice. And I love doing radio as well. That's a great thing to do, which you don't do often now. It's becoming less and less a thing. Yeah. It's expensive and they think it's not really worth it. But it's the grounding for lots of actors performing on radio, and it's a great shame that it's disappearing somewhat. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go right to the very start, and then we'll come right to where we are now. But okay, I noticed your very first IMDb entry was "Tis Was." Oh my God! Yeah. And I'm a child of that era where it's the cool kids watch Tis Was and the straight kids, the good kids watch Multicolored Swap Shop. Yes. Now, see, I got on all those sort of things. So I was definitely still a student when I did that, which is weird, isn't it? We did a parody of the Bee Gees. We called ourselves the Heebie-Jeebies, and we did a song called Meaningless Songs in Very High Voices, which involved us singing lots of falsetto, which I'm not sure I can quite reach anymore. But it was very good fun. And as a result, lots of strange things happened. So we toured all over the world. We performed some amazing gigs. We turned down some extraordinary gigs. One of them was we turned down the opportunity to be in Elton John's Christmas party, which he threw every year, Hammersmith Odeon or something, and invited lots of bands to perform. And then he would sing some songs. And it was a great big thing. And we turned it down because it wasn't paid. That's how desperate we were. And I think instead we did a gig in Loughborough, I think.
Right.
Strange enough, where Princess Margaret was the guest of honour. And we got paid for that one. So
Wow, that's crazy.
I know. Strange thing. Now I look back now and say, why the hell did we do Elton John's Christmas party?
I know, what a story that would have been.
Oh, amazing.
Goodness me.
So never mind, we didn't do it. But we did do loads of really amazing things. It opened up loads of opportunities. And lots of them were things like the Saturday morning shows. And Tiswas was the first one, yeah. We went on that. And I was very excited because, I watched that. As a student, that would be you'd wake up on a Saturday morning for that, even though you were hungover and had been up most of the night.
And it was one of those things one of those shows, obviously from the 70s, that you would never be able to do today.
No,
people getting slimed and gunged and all of that kind of stuff. It was just such irreverent, stupid.
There are a number of things like that. I was looking recently. I think Danny Baker tweeted about getting The Cure on TFI Friday.
Right.
They basically sat in this room and it was live and people were there. And normally the band would sit around and then you'd invite them in and you'd talk to them or they'd perform. But they had them on as the final guests and they made them stand outside the window in the rain. Just a sort of idea that Danny Baker would have. That would be funny. Yeah, I've got a brilliant idea. Why don't we have them stand outside the whole time, just knocking on the window? And they asked them and they went, yeah, okay. And they'd go, but who would? I love Danny Baker. I think he's a genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree with you. Completely agree.
That's the start of my career.
Yeah. So coming back to sort of where you are now, if you like, you've just finished. Wicked.
Glorious unemployment. I love it. I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying it.
But when we last spoke, you'd said that you were quite happy that it was like, because I think, I don't know how long you did, but you were the wizard on Wicked.
I was the wizard in Wicked, yeah, the Wizard of Oz, and now I'm the Wizard of Was. Very good.
But again, you were quite happy to do sort of like a short stint of it rather than.
Well, I
was that
actually
not your really choice? Or
I did longer than I would have chosen. I had the option. I think 6 months of something, that's a long time. And you're going to sort of run out of ways to do it. Do you know what I mean? In order to keep yourself alive and make the thing seem real and give it some sense of performance, I find that I have to do something. I can't just do the same thing. I have to find a new way of doing something. And it can only be, in a whole scene, it could be one thing. You think, tonight I won't do that. I'll do that. Let's try that, see if that works. Or I'll say it this way. And you can sort of pre-choose that, or you can leave it to fate and things will occur. But I did actually 13 months in Wicked.
Wow.
And that's a long time. And by the end, I would find myself in the wings going, I've done that. No, I can't think of anything else. I just can't think of anything else. And it's sort of where you go, well, actually, then I'm going to die because I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do things that I know I've done before. And I know I've done them exactly the same way. And it'll feel like a repetition rather than a performance. And it did get to that point a bit, you know. It was a fabulous show. It's an amazing show to be in. And it's an extraordinary thing to finish every night. Because the wizard's part, he appears towards the end of Act 1, and then he appears a bit near the beginning of Act 2, and then he appears at the end. And they're both very strange. He has 2 songs, so it's a great thing to do. You know, when you come on, you're the centre of attention. You do your bit, and then you go back to your dressing room. So I had hours and hours in the dressing room waiting for things to happen with the musical going on in the background. And I've never actually seen it.
Right.
I didn't see it before I'd done it. So I don't know what was going on. All I know is what it sounds like.
Right. Have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie, yeah, which everybody tells me is very different from the stage show and has lots of things in it that aren't in the stage show. So I've still got to go and see Wicked in London in order to see what it was I was in.
Right, that's weird.
Weird, isn't it? I know.
Very weird.
Yeah.
And obviously the My Time Capsule podcast, excellent podcast, is still going strong.
It is still going strong. Well, I mean, it just keeps going. It's extraordinary. We have 2 episodes a week, and we have done almost since we started. So we're heading towards episode 500, which is...
that's crazy, isn't it?
It is crazy that I've spent... I mean, as you can tell, I quite like talking. But on My Time Capsule, I listen, which is a different skill, is it, with the skill that you're demonstrating now?
It is, absolutely.
You've always got something to say, but you hold it back. And you use it if you need to, but you rely on the other person to do the talking. And I find the listening thing has been an absolute revelation in my life. I realise that up until I started doing this podcast, I didn't really listen to people. I sort of listened, but if 10 minutes later you'd said to me, "What did they say?" I'd go, "Oh, I don't know," because I was thinking about the next thing I was going to say.
Yeah, it becomes a very weird thing that you...
Yeah, but to actually genuinely listen and take in what they're saying, so that when you, later on, an hour later, you're at the end of a conversation, you can say, well, it's like your grandmother, and you remember those things. They stick in your head, and it's changed my life to an extent because I now actually have genuine conversations with people. I've got friends who I go to the pub with on a Tuesday night, and I've started listening to what they're saying rather than thinking, "Oh, what was that joke I was going to tell?" I'll tell it in a minute when they stop talking.
Okay, let's get down to the job in hand then, Michael.
Indeed, let's do it.
Let's find out what's in your top 10 movies of all time. So kick us off with your number 10.
Yes, well, this I think will be in other people's, but I'm not sure it will necessarily be this number. So I've chosen The Godfather, Part 2.
Okay.
Which I actually prefer to the original film because I love the flashbacks to De Niro in it. I think
I'm with you on that.
And I think the whole construction of that film, it works very well as a single film. You don't necessarily have to have seen the film before. You don't have to see the film afterwards, I don't think. You don't have to see Part 3. It works with the door closing on him and everybody kissing his ring, and you know that he's become the new Godfather. It's to me, they could have finished there.
Yeah.
You didn't have to see their final destruction, I think, really, in Part 3. But it's an amazing film, fantastic performances. I know there are characters and performers in The Godfather, Brando, for example. You sort of go, well, they're not in this film. But I think that I would say The Scent of a Woman is probably Al Pacino's best performance. I think it's it's an amazing, that speech. You're not a Wade man. You're not a Wade man. What's a Wade man? It's an absolutely fantastic performance, and it's spine tingling when he turns around on those people in the hall at the end and berates them about where their real morals are. A fantastic performance, but I think this rates alongside it as a performance because it's so subtle. And he does hardly anything all the way through. His face hardly changes. He very rare. Just at one point, he gets really, really angry. But it's amazing, beautiful construction. The music, of course, is extraordinary. I think it's a really fantastic. Diane Keaton is brilliant in it.
Yeah,
Robert Duvall, absolutely amazing. And his younger brother. Well, it's just, John Cazale, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's really, really extraordinary. Anyway, I think that's certainly in my top 10.
Yeah, I was going to say it's weird because with Al Pacino there, his voice is very sort of whiny, isn't it? And he's completely different from the Pacino, the ooh-ah of it.
Yeah, the loud Pacino.
The loud Pacino. Here he's more very sort of like this, and like Dog Day Afternoon, that kind of whiny. But I'm with you. I think Part 2 for me is a lot more than, but what a 1-2 punch, the Godfather 1 and 2. Did you ever? I remember a few years ago now. My wife bought I think it was a DVD, but they'd put it in chronological order.
Oh, right.
So they recut it so that it was the De Niro stuff at the start, and you watched it actually in chronological order. And it was a weird experience because it obviously told the same story, but it was weird when everything is put in the right place, just how differently it flows as a movie.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it keeps you suddenly at a point where you're really tense in that film. It will go back to, another time, another place. I like the fact that it jumps around. It sort of eases the tension and then rebuilds it, and it does that again and again and again right the way through, until you see that really the horror of it. I think the fact this is a man who constantly says, "I want to get out of this. I'm not going to be like them. I'm going to do things differently. I want to be in the army. I'm going to be a proper citizen." And then you see his total corruption towards the end. You can't get away from it. It's the family and the pressure of the organization. Yeah.
Well, that's your number 10. So you've set the bar high for your number 10.
Well, it is high. I think I go downhill really well. I'm not sure I do. Number 9. It's very difficult to place this in any sort of order, isn't it, really? But number 9, I've put it at number 9 because I've only ever seen it once. And I don't think I could ever watch it again. And it's Schindler's List. And I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I would like to watch it again just for the performances. The performances in it are astonishing.
Yeah.
Ralph Fiennes is unbelievable in it. His performance is so monstrous. And yet there's a humanity to it. And yet you believe this man. You can you sort of slightly understand him almost. And yet you're horrified by what he's doing and the way he behaves towards people. But you do see this is a man who doesn't believe these people are human. He genuinely doesn't believe it. They're nothing. And Ralph Fiennes is, it's sort of a shame really that there he is, an RSC actor, very good looking, tall, wonderful. Oh, there's a fantastic story about Liam Neeson. And you see, I'd have to think of names to tell you it. I'll come back if it occurs to me.
Okay,
who it is. But
you can't tease us with stories like that, Mike.
Okay, right then. Let's work it out. Let's work it out.
I know how good you are with stories.
He used to go out many years ago. He was in a relationship with. She played the Queen,
Helen Mirren.
So when they were at the RSC, they were going out, and Dumbledore, the second one,
Michael Gambon.
There we are. We're there. Names have come back. That's good. That's all we need is the names, and then I can tell you the story. Is that Liam Neeson was told by an actor, I heard a story about you at the Royal Shakespeare Company. He said, apparently, you were having an affair with Helen Mirren, and you were having sex with her one afternoon, while Michael Gambon, who she was going out with, was on stage, but the play finished before you realised, and he came back to her digs and walked in the room. You jumped out the window and ran away across the gardens. And I know the gardens he's talking about because I've stayed in those digs. And all you could see was this bare ass running away. And he never knew who it was.
Oh, really?
And Liam Neeson said, no, it's the other way round. And now I know who it was.
Oh.
So in fact, he'd come back.
Oh my! And it was Michael Gambon that was. And
he on that person telling him that story, he'd realise it was bloody Gambon.
Oh, what a bombshell!
That's amazing, though, isn't it?
That's Dumbledore. Look at that. That's crazy.
No Dumbledore there. Absolutely.
Holy moly!
I don't know if it's true or not, but it's a fantastic story.
That is a great story. That is a great story.
Anyway, back to Schindler's List.
Anyway, let's jump back on to Schindler's
So Liam Neeson is astonishing in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a very unlikable character he plays, who very slowly just goes, I can't do this. All those things that I thought I loved, and I was happy to do anything to get them, which was money, to be wealthy, and power, in that sort of sense, of mix with powerful people. Those things are less important to me than I know these people are going to be killed.
Yeah.
If I don't do something about it. And you can see him constantly trying to say to himself, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I can't give you any more. I can't give you any more money. And Ben Kingsley, that scene where they're typing the list, and Ben Kingsley says to him, one more. He says, I can't. I'll have nothing left. And yet he does. He does do one more. Just thinking about it, it's extraordinary. It's a terrible thing, but it's an amazing film. If you've not watched it, you sort of have to watch it, I think, to see the horror of it, but also to see the redemption in it.
Yeah.
To see the possibility that people will fight against this. People will eventually, hopefully, there's hope in it, I think.
And because it was shot in black and white, it feels like a documentary sometimes as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't
when
feel
you're
like
used to seeing those scenes in black and white. You're used to seeing the films of the Holocaust. They're in black and white.
Yeah.
And so you see those bodies being mass graves and people being naked going to the gas chambers. And you see that and you sort of go, oh, there it is from way back. And you don't really get there, but you get to know these people so well that you forget it's in black and white. And there's the brilliant idea that there's a little girl. It's a little girl in the ghetto who has a beautiful red coat.
That's right.
And that's the only colour in the film, apart from right at the end, where you see the real people who were actually were saved by Schindler, which is extraordinary. At the moment where they come out of the factory and they know they're safe is it's one of the most moving things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
An amazing film.
I agree. And the nuance of Ralph Fiennes' character and performance, it goes from horrific to then like these almost comedic. When they go and take that guy out to go and shoot him, and none of them can get their guns to work.
Oh God!
And it's the look.
That actually it's the fragility of life in those situations. It's the serendipity, the little sort of tiny little accidents that mean people survive and other people don't.
But it becomes almost like a comedic scene because you've got these 3-4 SS officers all trying to get these guns.
Keeps grabbing guns and goes click, click.
Yeah, and it becomes almost like a slapstick comedy scene where and just hits him with
somebody's
a gun.
Life, this person, every time it happens, he thinks this is it. I'm going to die.
It's a masterpiece.
It is, and up until that point, I mean, the ease with which they kill people is terrifying. Yes. Robert Popper, the brilliant writer and director, and Friday Night Dinner he wrote and directed. He's fabulous, very funny man. He on my podcast he told me a story about his grandfather, who was supposed to leave just before the start of war, and he was Jewish, and he was on a train with his family, and they had visas to get out, and they were going to go into Austria. Yeah, that's right. Just before Austria was annexed. So they were going to go into Austria, and then they were going to head towards either United States or Britain. And so he had his young family with him, his wife, and some SS guards got on the train, walked along and looked over his papers, and took his paper and said to him, "Juden?" And he said, "Yeah." And that they went off. And he said, and his family, they said they could stay. So they just took the man off.
Yeah.
So he was taken off, and he was lined up with the other Jews they'd found on the train, on the platform. And, excuse me. And then the train started to pull away. And his grandfather, I suppose as you might do in that situation, who knows how you'd react. But he thought, I don't care what happens to me. I can't let them go. I have to try. So he just ran. He ran after the train, and they fired after him, and the soldiers fired rifles, and he jumped on the train. The train went off, across the border, and they missed him.
Oh, my God.
And, and as a result, everything else happens. And it's sort of, that ridiculous. I mean, any other time, they would have killed him.
Yeah.
He would have died, It
just wasn't his day.
No. And it's such a, It's such a coin toss, isn't it? It's mad. Well, there we are.
Wow. Okay, then. Your number 8, then, please.
Yes. It's a Wonderful Life, which is, I have lots of connections with this thing. I've done a musical of It's a Wonderful Life with a friend of mine who died earlier this year, and it was an absolutely beautiful musical to do. And it made me realize again how much I love the film, because it's got. I don't know if people know it terribly well. You think of it, you think of the lovely ending and people standing by the Christmas tree and a bell ring every time a bell rings. Yeah. And that's right. Just, and Jimmy Stewart is just amazing in it. Absolutely beautiful performance all the way through. So genuine. And Frank Capra is an amazing director. Just extraordinary that people should be making a film in America about how evil the power of big business is. That Hollywood should be. It's not surprising that they the government eventually tried to shut them down.
Yeah,
because they will make this is socialist stuff. Everybody puts their money together. We all look after each other, and nobody's making a big profit out of it. We just make sure that everybody got a nice. We build lovely houses that everybody can afford, and we make sure that actually we don't overcharge them. We don't want to make much profit out. We just want them to live somewhere nice.
Yeah,
that's what's going on in this film, and yet there's this powerful businessman played by the brilliant Lionel Barrymore, Mr. Potter.
Yeah,
yeah. It's fantastic performance, and he wants to just own everything and make money out of it. And because of the film is about Jimmy Stewart's character seeing what the world would be like if he hadn't been there and been the person who started the loan company that gave these people the chance to live a normal life, and how the town turns into a horrible place full of prostitution and drug dens and
Pottersville, isn't it?
Pottersville, yeah. And the redemption of it is fabulous, but it's extraordinary. It should be made, and actually the dark side of it, the slowly spiraling into the fact that he realizes that everything he held dear has disappeared, that his wife is a lonely spinster, slightly misogynistic, that idea that had she not met him, she would have just ended up doing nothing important. But also this whole thing, his uncle just is dead, his brother's dead because he was killed in the army, drowned, and all that sort of thing. There's a little boy from the shop who he saved because he said to the man in the ice cream shop, the drugstore, "No, you've made the wrong mixture there." Tiny little things all the way through his life that meant that things happened for good rather than the opposite. And he'd done that all through his life, even though he was very unhappy with his life. He wanted to see the world. I want to travel. I'll throw a rope around the moon. And for you, I do anything for you, and it's got just such fantastic ideas in it, and such a beauty, and wonderful performances. Clarence, the angel, being this sort of bumbling, silly little old man who just wants to get his wings. I have to do this because I need to get my wings.
Exactly.
And just all the way through, it's. I think it's really the most beautiful film, and the dark side of it goes on and on and on. It gets worse and worse and worse. And then the redemption, a bit like A Christmas Carol, which I think it's probably based on.
Yeah.
The idea is there, certainly. The redemption is very short. If you read A Christmas Carol, it's only about 3 pages. When he wakes up and realizes, oh my God, I can change the world, I can be different. And he does the things he does. Dickens describes it very quickly, It just happens, and it just says, and he became the best man, the best friend, and that's it. And it's exactly the same with this. The moment he runs through the town and shouts, "Hello, hi there! Oh, here's woohoo!" Just running through the snow-lined town. It's beautiful. And then he gets home, and it doesn't care that we're going to be broke. It doesn't matter because I love you, and I love this house, and I love the children, and I've got friends. And then all those friends come together and help him, and he's saved. And it happens in about 5 minutes.
Gets me every time. Every time. And I've seen that movie. I think that movie was in my... It was definitely in my top 10 like Christmas movies, but that's number one in my Christmas movies. But it amazes me with movies like that you've watched them so many times, but it can still make you emotional. Yeah,
absolutely. And very simply, it's not pushing it. It's doing very simple things. He's to keep up that sort of amazement that he does at the end, that everybody's doing this thing of giving him money. It's great. I think all the characters, everybody in it, all the little tiny characters that run right the way through it. It's beautiful, beautiful film.
Yeah, Uncle Billy with his bits of string tied on his fingers.
I know. It's just the details of it. As you say, it is a film you can watch again and again and again and go, I forgot that bit. Yeah. I forgot that happens. Yeah. The tree. When he finds back and finds actually a scratch in the tree because he's back where he was. And the fact that the moment that he says, I want to go back, Clarence, please. And Clarence says, you want to go back? Okay.
Yeah.
And then it starts to snow.
And he's got his cut back on his
and there's a connection between that moment. And I think it may be copied to a film that I've got later on in the list.
Oh, nice. Okay. I mean, so far, you've got a great top 10 so far. You can't argue with that, to be fair.
I know.
Okay, number 7. What have you got for number 7?
I'm sure I'm falling apart slowly. Well, at number 7, you see, I have to go for the sort of film that I really love. And one of the films that I think is a perfect example of it is Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, that was my number 2 in my top 10.
It's a perfect film. It's a perfect film. Yeah. And actually, I think that as I go through the list, one of the reasons that they're there, those films, is because I regard them as being perfect.
Yeah.
I can't see a point where I got bored, where I thought that doesn't make sense, or why did they do that, or that's terrible performance. There's not a moment in it where it is. I mean, there are films that aren't in the list, like The Truman Show, which I would say, again, that's another one that has that sort of perfect performances all the way through, beautifully constructed.
Yeah.
But Raiders of the Lost Ark, as a piece of adventure, I mean, what a way to start a film.
Oh, my
what a
God.
way to end with, after this amazing thing with him running and arrows and spears shooting past it. Turn him, start it up, start the engine. And he runs and jumping, flies away. And then in comes the John with da-da-da-da-da. You go, oh my God.
But it's not just that, it's that he gets into the cockpit and then there are snakes in the cockpit. So he's not even...
You then realise it's never going to end.
Exactly.
It's just going to keep going like this, building and building and building. It's fantastic. And I saw it first when it first came out in the cinema, and I rarely go to think. I saw it because I was touring, and I was touring with Angus Deaton, who was in this little comedy group that we started off in together, and he has a phobia of snakes.
Oh, really?
Nice. And we were there on tour and we had a show that evening. And I said, should we go to the cinema? And he said, what's on? I said, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He said, oh, no. Somebody's warned me. It's full of snakes. I said, it can't be that many. He said, no, I just can't. And he's had this lifelong phobia of snakes.
Right.
And so he's never seen that film.
I was going to say, has he ever actually...
No,
took
never.
The plunge? Really?
No, never.
Wow.
No, I asked him quite recently, actually, and he said, no, still not seen it. I said, oh, it's a brilliant film. And I went to the cinema on my own. And I think there's one of the films, and I have to admit this now, one of the films that isn't on my list, but I had this reaction to, and it's very strange when it happens, is you go to the cinema and watch the whole thing, but you're sort of in a state of shock at the end of it, because you go, oh my God, I can't believe what I've just watched, and you're so excited. I actually went outside the cinema and saw people just blandly walking past it. And I stopped people and said, have you seen this film? I did exactly the same thing with Star Wars.
Really?
When I saw it. I was a student. And I one afternoon, when I was supposed to be at lectures, I went to see it and came out and stood outside the cinema and I went, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my! And I turned around and went back in.
Right.
Because it was so astonishing. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I'd seen one of those films that they often put on in top tens, Space Odyssey, that one, 2001. Yeah, Space Odyssey, and everybody said, and I sat there and I thought, oh, Jesus Christ, will this never get going? Beautiful, looks fantastic.
It's a different kind
amazing.
of sci-fi movie, isn't it? That's the
thing. And that has sort of been the way the first time that anybody had ever done something where you thought, I suppose that is what it's like to be in space. It does look like that. Yeah, I can imagine that's exactly what it looks like, and somebody's recreated it, which is amazing. But then when they do it in Star Wars, you go, wow. But anyway, back to the subject, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, I can't. It's got so many moments in it. When you go back and think about every single scene in it, you can't quite believe that there's so much in it. That it's so full.
Yeah.
The whole sequence of him chasing the tank on a horse, it's enormously long and incredible. It's one of the great chase sequences and fight sequences that's ever been done on film, I think.
Yeah.
And the whole idea at the end of all these people opening it and the Ark of the Covenant and all that sort of thing, and right down to the final scene of it being in this. We've got it. We know we've got it. Put it in this place. Keep it safe.
Massive
and
warehouse.
Pull back and think, and it's just full of crates.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant idea. And I was torn. It's because it's the first one that I saw, and it had this amazing effect on me. I was torn between that. I do love Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. Oh no, no, not Raiders of the Lost Ark. I love. The one with Sean Connery,
the Last Crusade. Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic film as well, and that again is beautifully done. It's amazing that in a sequence of films they could do. The Temple of Doom's not that great, I don't think. I didn't think it was anywhere
to those two. I agree. It's not as bad as I think I can remember as it was when it first came out, but I've kind of got a little bit more of a love to it. But it's not a patch on.
It doesn't.
Those two. I agree.
And I worked with an actor who's in. I worked with Julian Glover. I worked with Julian Glover years ago.
Yeah.
Who's brilliant in it, I think. And also I worked with Denham Elliott.
Oh, did you?
Who was just a fabulous actor. Yeah. Also the actor, and I can't remember his name. It's terrible. I'm terrible name. I don't know why you have me on. I can't remember anybody's name. But I work with the actor who plays the Crusader, the old Crusader.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. You have chosen wisely.
You have chosen wisely. Who, when he was a young actor, was known as the Voice. When in the West End, he was called The Voice.
Oh, right.
He had a nickname because he had the most beautiful, mellifluous voice. And by the time I worked with him, he'd smoked so many cigarettes and was so old. He did this, and it was quite compelling. He would say something very lightly and just let his voice float.
That sounds just like it. Robert Edison.
Robert Edison.
There you
Robert
go.
Edison. Yeah, lovely man. Man.
Dear.
But I mean, he just had and every time he took a breath, it would just be. You thought, oh, wow. There's a lot of tar in there.
Oh, dear. But it was also the amazing violence as well. There's people being shot in the face. There's people with blood skewered all over from an airplane propeller. There's people's faces melting and caving in. And
yes, not really a film that you should be showing 8-year-olds. But
no. But I can remember. I think my mum and dad took me to the cinema for like a birthday party, taking my friends. So we were I was 12 at the time, and my friend dropped his popcorn and picked it up, and just at the moment that the snake was coming out of the mummy's mouth, and he absolutely shit himself. Absolutely lost it.
Well, I mean, if you don't have a phobia of snakes, that film could give you it.
Absolutely.
That thing of suddenly looking around and just seeing them everywhere. Oh my God.
That's so good.
It is so good.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, who knows what's going to be in number 6 in your countdown, Michael?
Well, number 6 is the film that I mentioned that has a connection with the other one, because there's a moment in it where the thing is redeemed and it changes right towards the end, and it starts to snow, and it's never happened before. And this is in Groundhog Day.
Oh, another classic.
And Bill Murray's, it's one of the great film performances, because you should not like this man.
No.
And to have the nerve to play this character so genuinely, nobody likes him.
Mm.
No, nobody likes him. And he's horrible to everybody. And his first reaction almost to, the day is going to be repeated again and again is, I can find out about people and trick them.
Yeah.
That's good. I should get all the women in the town to sleep with me, because I can find out all the things they like, tell them that. And so he's a very dislikable character. But it's the redemption of him again at the end. It's that moment. And he does that thing with Annie McDowell. She says to him, it's been a beautiful day. And he said, it's beautiful. And he said, and if this is the only day I ever live, something like that, then I'm happy.
Mm.
And at that moment, a snowflake falls on her shoulder and he brushes it off. And just for a fraction of a moment, he looks quizzical. He looks at it as I say, that's odd. And then nothing in his life is odd. Mm. Everything is something he's seen. And when you analyse the film, which I think I probably have a dozen times, it could be covering centuries. It really could be covering centuries of time.
I just Googled to see how long people reckon in Groundhog Day, and it says the movie Groundhog Day doesn't explicitly state how many days Phil Collins repeats the same day, but estimates range from around 34 to 33 years and 350 days.
Yeah.
With some even suggesting 10,000 years. So, I mean, they're not exactly narrowing it down there in their reports,
it goes from not being able to play the piano with 1 hour lesson a day, the same day, to becoming almost concert pianist. You could play anything. So how long does that take?
I don't know.
He gets to know.
Isn't it 10,000 hours of practice to become
maybe
good at stuff? So,
but I mean, all he's doing is playing in front of the tutor every day. It's mad.
Yeah.
And he gets to know everything that happens in that town to the nth degree, and he knows exactly where to be to stop the child falling out of the tree, just to get the man who's choking, and you do that. It's extraordinary. And of course, it has Ned Ryerson in it, which makes any film perfect.
So good. And he goes through almost like the stages of grief, isn't it? First, it's the bewilderment of, hang on, this isn't happening, to then all of a sudden, I'm a god. I can do what I want. I can eat as many pastries as I like. To then it's the oh, well, I'm just stuck here now. I don't know what to do, and the bewilderment of that as well.
Yeah. The attempt to later on, the endless attempts to kill himself.
To kill himself, yeah.
Just go, well, I can't bear this anymore. I'm going to kill myself. And he goes through this whole processes of trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then, when you say that he becomes a god, he sort of is a god, because he can control anybody's life at any time if he wants to, because he knows exactly what they're going to do next. And so it's rather lovely, the idea that being a god, in the end, what he does is he just makes sure that everybody's life is better for that day. And, he tries to keep the man alive, and he can't. So he tries to be God in a way. If I can do all these things, then I'll try to make somebody live who's supposed to die. And he can't.
No.
That's the one thing he can't do. I think it's all amazing.
Such a good movie.
I would have loved to have seen the musical version of it that Tim Minchin wrote, but I never did see it.
No. And you weren't even in that one to not be able to see
it. No. I tried. I have a friend of mine was a producer, and I said to him,
really?
I can sing.
Really?
He went
I
and
could
saw it in
see you as the
Kaufman.
Bill Murray part. You'd be perfect, couldn't you?
Don't say that. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Go on then, your number 5 then, please.
Okay, number 5. We are going to musicals now.
Right.
So I'm going to put in the greatest musical film of all time, Singing in the Rain.
Oh, you're a man
which is
after
a
my own
1952
heart,
classic.
Yeah.
Strangely, a film that was sort of cobbled together with songs that people had. The writers of the song, I can't remember who wrote it. I can't remember. So anyway, you Google it. But they had songs in the bottom drawer. You know, there's things they'd written them, they were never used, and they had this whole collection of songs. And they went, well, I've got all these songs. Let's write a film around it using these songs. And they had them stratted around. And they wrote the script because of the songs. So the songs were the first thing. They were already done. And then they slotted the story in around it. And a lot of the songs they'd written had been around the time that talkies first started, apparently. So they went back that far. And so they thought, well, let's set it at that point. And the performances, the dancing, the singing, the look of it. It's absolutely fantastic. Debbie Reynolds is in it, and she's, 19 at the time, something like that. She's to be suddenly thrown in with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor and to have to dance with them and act with them and perform. And she quite often steals it, I think.
I agree.
When they sing Good Morning, which is that fantastic routine. And there's so much of it that is filmed just as one sequence. I mean, you can see the cuts in it, but there aren't many. It's a real theatrical performance. And it's amazing. I mean, they are just so consummate at their skills, and it's got Singing in the Rain in it. Gene Kelly Singing in the Rain. It's one of the most beautiful songs, I think. It's the feeling of it, and I'm happy. Yeah. And again, I'm singing. Look, I'm singing in the rain. Yeah. How ridiculously happy am I?
Wasn't one of the legends that he had bronchitis or something while he was filming?
Yeah, I think he did.
Then,
I think, And he just
Gene
danced
Kelly's
his way
one of
through
those,
it.
I always think we got Fred Astaire that looked like a dancer, didn't he? He was very elegant,
amazing.
and whereas Gene Kelly looked like a guy that just walked off the street and was just like, but what a style! I love Gene Kelly. He's one of those guys that I could watch any of his movies and just be happy to watch them. But I watched this one about 6 months ago, and it was like watching it again for the first time. It was so fresh. It felt so fresh, and I forgot how
it's so funny.
How funny it is.
Oh, God, it's funny.
Yeah.
Gene Hagen. Gene Hagen, actually plays...
That's right, Lena Lamont.
Lena Lamont.
Yes.
Oh, what a performance. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's absolutely brilliant to move the ideas of where the mic's trying to get the sound and the talkies and everything. And then it's just the beautiful thing at the end of her singing, making her sing backstage. And she says, okay, I'm going to do it. And then, then pulling the curtain and revealing that she's the person that they should be treating as a star, Debbie Reynolds. And then in the middle of it, Donald O'Connor just does his turn. He just sings "Make 'Em Laugh," which is such a clear rip-off of Cole Porter's "Be a Clown," which was before that.
Right.
So be a clown, all the world loves a clown. This is "Make 'Em Laugh, Make 'Em Laugh." Don't you know all the world wants to laugh? It's exactly the same, and Cole Porter never sued.
Wow.
I mean, all the lawyers who've ever looked at it have gone, it's such a clear case of plagiarism.
Yes.
He could have won, but he never sued. Because apparently he said, no, I like the fact that I've inspired other people.
Well, that's refreshing, isn't it?
Isn't it? Isn't it just?
Goodness me.
And it's extraordinary. Does that thing of running and up the wall and doing somersaults.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And that is almost, without a doubt, one take. It's just a fixed camera and him doing this thing. How fit was that man?
I know.
Unbelievably fit.
Yeah. I mean, any of those kind of dancers, I mean, the way that they're dancing, especially someone like Gene Kelly, and it doesn't look like they're breathing.
No.
Do you know, it's just all effortless. And I tie my shoes and I'm
And even,
Knackers.
I mean, normally when Gene Kelly goes into those, this is me doing this really weird, interesting sort of Parisian dance, American in Paris, I think, oh God, that goes on a long time, that sort of dream sequence.
Yeah.
But in this, it's really good, and it's really contained, and it's Sid Charisse is in it.
That's right.
Fantastic. So I mean, the whole thing works brilliantly. I think it's a
movie.
Fantastic. There we are.
This top 10. What else can you?
Well, they're all worth watching. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely, I'd spend a whole weekend watching all of these movies.
It would be a good weekend.
Where are you for number 4?
Well, I didn't put this in the list, and then I thought, why am I not putting it there? I absolutely love that film and can watch it again and again, and have watched it dozens of times. And every time I find every moment of it perfect, and it's Die Hard.
Oh my goodness, Michael, what are you doing to me? One of the greatest movies ever made. Die Hard.
It really is. Absolutely, it's so perfect. It's so funny, so exciting, brilliantly performed. I mean, Bruce Willis is the reluctant hero. It's the perfect performance of the reluctant hero. All I want to do is get my wife safe. Just let me in there. Let us walk out. I'm not. Get on with it. I don't. But just what you're doing is wrong, and I'm not going to put up with it. And he will go to the nth degree to do that. Those ridiculous things: tie a hose around anything and throw himself out of a window.
Yes.
Goodness sake, run across glass with bare feet, and it's amazing. And of course, I think it's Alan Rickman's first film. And if it is, and I'm not absolutely certain of that, but I think it is, it's an astonishing performance because he completely just takes hold of it. I mean, there's no fear in his performance at all. I talked to Richard Wilson on My Time Capsule, talked to him about the things. And what people do is they choose things they want to put in a time capsule from their life. And he put in directing Alan Rickman.
Oh, really?
Said he thought was the perfect actor, the best actor he'd ever worked with, astonishing performer. And I think that film demonstrates it because it could be a silly nothing, but he really makes something of that part. It could just be the baddie, the sort of German accented baddie. The moment where he comes out and thank God, it suddenly does the American accent. It's so good.
Yeah.
All the way through his performance is fabulous.
You can't believe that Hans Gruber is the same person as the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, is the same person as Severus Snape in Harry Potter.
Absolutely.
But they're three, in inverted commas, bad guys, but completely different.
Yes. I mean, I think that was his skill. He absolutely lived the part.
Yeah.
He became the person, which is, I think, I'm talking about right at the beginning, rather than acting the part. You believed him. He can do extraordinary things. He can do extreme things because you believe this person would. You believe that that's a genuine thing that he's doing. Hans Gruber, absolutely. It's, and you get to the end of that film and the weather outside is frightful. And you just go, I want to watch it again. It again.
And it's hard to believe that originally, I think, Frank Sinatra was supposed to be the lead.
Was he?
When they first got the story for it, I can't remember what the name of the story was, but originally it was going to be a vehicle for Frank Sinatra, and then Burt Reynolds was somebody that was going to be put for it as well. And then because Bruce Willis was filming Moonlighting at the time.
Yeah. And
so he kind of had to do the same thing that Michael J. Fox did, because Michael J. Fox, when he was Back to the Future, was filming Family Ties. So he filmed that during the day and then the movie at night. And that's what Bruce Willis was doing for Die Hard.
Amazing.
And now you wouldn't think of anybody else as John McClane.
No, absolutely not. No, and it was completely, you say, Moonlighting on the telly, and everybody liked that and thought, he's a very interesting, good-looking bloke, but funny and witty, and it seems very natural. Suddenly he does this film, and there he is. He's one of the great film stars of all time.
Of all time. And he was in Everyman as well. That was a thing. He bled and he got hurt, which I think was what ruined the further Die Hard movies. He became more indestructible, like a Terminator. He
could fight anybody.
Yeah,
whereas
and
to do it almost without in this, he wins a fight through some sort of accident or some ridiculous thing.
Yeah, but he's bleeding everywhere. His feet are bleeding.
Yeah, absolutely. They're always at the point of beating his head in.
Yes,
and then he just grabs something and sticks it in their leg. It's a fantastic film.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's not a single one on here that I don't think deserves to be on a top 10. So you're doing really well.
Well, that's
Michael,
very good.
Really well. So what's your number 3?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned it because it's another film that I did that thing of walking out and then I walked back in and watched it again. I was on tour and I was in Bath. So when you remember the moment that you saw the film, I remember exactly what the cinema was like. I went in to watch Michael J. Fox perform Back to the Future, which he was filming at night, and came out and thought, I've got to watch that again. It's just, it's too perfect. I couldn't wait for it to come on the telly, which in those days took a long time.
Absolutely,
and I thought,
kids these days got no idea, have they? They got no idea.
And once it was taken out of the cinema, there was no way of watching it. No way of watching it. I thought, I have to watch it again because I can't believe that I've just seen something so perfect.
Yes.
So brilliantly paced, it's brilliantly performed.
Yeah.
There's not a moment in it which isn't exciting and thrilling or funny. All the performances are fabulous, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I've written it down somewhere. Thomas F. Wilson as Biff.
Yes.
It's a brilliant performance. It's not surprising that they went on and made another 3 and that actually, in a way, he sort of became the centre of the story because it's such a brilliant character and he does it so well. It's full of fantastic ideas. The whole idea of going back into the past and how that is going to affect the future. And it's very funny. Him standing up there singing Chuck Berry songs and, and him calling his cousin, hey, Chuck, listen to this. The idea that the man was inspired by the man who had heard him, but it was from the future. It's full of fabulous ideas. And Christopher Lloyd, who is, I always loved him. There's a joke that Christopher Lloyd did in Taxi.
Yes. Where
they were being sued by a man who said that he'd been knocked over by the taxi and was unable to walk. And this is Judd, whatever his name was, the lead fellow, says, Christopher Lloyd said, okay, I'll prove you can walk. And he pushes the wheelchair towards the door of the courtroom, and he goes out through the door, and you hear the going, ah! And it goes bump, 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 as it goes down stair after stair after stair. And it finishes, and then they just say, I rest my case. And he also does another thing where somebody says, I mean, I don't, why you ask me that? I don't know. You might as well ask me how far it is to the moon. And he just stands up and goes, 274,325,422 miles. And they all stare at him. And eventually somebody says, how do you know that? And Christopher Lloyd says, I was right.
I love Taxi. That was another great
fantastic.
Show.
But he's again. You see, there is an actor. You come across them very rarely. People who have the ability to do something quite extraordinary. That almost if anybody else did it, you'd go, no. That's too much.
Yeah,
you can't do that. Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh my God! He's gone. He goes to places that most people wouldn't go, but you absolutely know the passion is there. You genuinely believe it, and it's a fantastic performance.
Yeah, there are certain movies, and you've got a couple of them on your list that should be locked in vaults, and there should be like law saying that they should never be remade. They should be just left alone because. Yeah. Back to the Future is definitely one. Die Hard, I think, is one. Raiders of the Lost Ark. They just leave them alone because they are perfect as they are. You can never better them.
I mean, how skillful. I mean, I know he was doing it during the day on a sitcom, and that's why they spotted him, really. But Michael J. Fox's performance in it is, again, that thing where you've got to be the glue. You're right.
Yes.
You run through everything, and And all you're doing to a large extent is reacting. People around you are living their lives and doing things, and you have this one secret that they don't have, and you've got to react and try and not let them know it's happening. And it's a very complex thing that he does as a performance, and yet he does it absolutely brilliantly.
Yeah, the scenes that he has with his mum, who is 18 back in the 50s or whatever, and she calls him Calvin Klein because that's the name on his underwear, and it's just perfect. It's
so many brilliant ideas in it.
Great comedy movie with I completely agree.
Yeah, and you see, and I think that a great comedy movie is sort of harder to make than a great worthy movie.
I've never made one, but I could completely agree.
To get comedy right in film.
Yeah, it seems so hard to make someone laugh as opposed to make someone jump or something like that.
I think so.
Oh my goodness.
I think so.
Okay, then you're number 2.
Well, it really should have been number 1, but it isn't. And my number 1 is a film that I've always said is my favourite film, and I'm going to stick to it. But so number 2 is Shawshank Redemption.
Okay.
Which is again an extraordinary film.
Yeah.
There's Morgan Freeman has one of those voices that you could listen to forever, couldn't you? He could read anything and say anything, and it would become interesting. And having him as the narrator of the film, I think, is a brilliant device.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it today, not with this.
I was just about to say you're the British Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, not really, not today. I got a frog in the throat. That's because I got up and then did this.
That's right. It's a bit earlier.
I should have. Anyway, he's brilliant in it. Again, he's one of those actors who's able to convey an enormous amount. In a way, it's sort of the opposite of what I've been talking about, but he conveys an enormous amount by doing nothing.
Yeah.
Nearly all the way through it, he doesn't show any emotion. He doesn't demonstrate it. When he's walking up to find this strange rock, it's all very casual, very calm. Even when he finds it, he just wipes his brow. He doesn't whoop or jump around or anything. He just looks at the tickets, looks at the money, all those things, all the way through, even though he's in this horrible situation in this jail. It's sort of why he's survived it, because he's just, I'm the man to come to if you want anything done. And the reason he can get away with doing anything is because he never looks like he's doing anything.
No.
And he never looks like he's on anybody's side. He never looks like he's any problem. And that's how he survived jail. And he sort of, he teaches Tim Robbins to get like that, to behave like that. Because to begin with, everything he does creates a problem. He has a terrible, terrible time for years and years in this prison. And the thing of hiding the fact that you're deceiving them and hiding the fact that you're going against them is what eventually gets him to be able to escape and to get away.
Yeah.
And yet that rebellious side in him, that standing up against the man, standing up against the authority when they're wrong, is really crucial to that film. And it works so fantastically well when the moment you think you're going to mess everything up when he clicks the door on the governor's office and the warden Norton, isn't it? And the door, and they're saying, open up.
That's right, because he's got his records, isn't it? He's listening,
and he's put the record on, and he's playing it to everybody in the exercise yard, and he just leans over and just turns it up and smiles to himself with the absolute knowledge they're going to beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He's going to be locked up in isolation for a long time, but it's worth it because it just says to them, "You don't own me.
Yeah,
you've got me. You can make me do anything you like. You can treat me any way you like, and I won't get out of here. You think, but you don't own me. You can't own my person." And that's what it is. In a way, that's what the redemption again is in the name of the film, I think.
Yeah. It's a great final act.
It's amazing.
Final act.
The fact that everybody gets their comeuppance as well.
Yes.
Is fabulous. But you don't see it coming. You don't expect them to. You also don't really expect that moment where he pulls down the picture of,
Raquel Welch, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Raquel Welch is finally, eventually, isn't it? And pulls it, and it's such a huge hole.
Yes.
That he's made with this tiny little. It's amazing.
I remember watching that for the first time, and the fact that he sort of looks at the picture and then his arm disappears, doesn't it? Because he goes straight through it. You think, what the hell's happening? And then he rips it off, and you think, that is just genius. That
is amazing. Yeah. And of course, I went to, the Secret Cinema. I went to a Secret Cinema event for this film. And we went into a place, and then we were all given a cup of tea. And then we went into a courtroom and a judge sentenced us. And so we were then taken by guards to a hall where we were made to strip down. We were told, wear long johns underneath. Strip down, given prison uniforms, put on buses, blacked out buses, driven to a part of London that we had no idea where we were. And the bus went in and we got out and we were in that wire cage with lots of other people shouting fresh meat at us as we went in. And then we were put in a cell. And it was so well organised. They have all these actors performing guards and all sorts of, and some being other prisoners. So my wife was put in a cell, and there was a man in there who said, I can't stand being locked up. I can't bear this. I've got to get out. And she started calling people, saying, I'm really sorry. I know you're supposed to be acting guard, but this man's really not well. And they went, what? She went, this man, he needs to come out. And the bloke went, does he? Okay. Opened the door. It kept up the accent and everything and the attitude. And they took him out. And then my wife said they locked the door again and then they beat him up. And she thought,
so he was part of it.
And he was part of it.
Oh, right. Oh, my God.
They were all actors.
That is crazy.
It was crazy. And we then watched the film. You have this whole thing happen. And then eventually you sit. We were taken into a hallway, sat down, and we watched the film. And at the moment where they get given the beers because he's done the tax for the guards.
Yeah.
The doors opened and all these guards came in and all gave us a free beer. And we all sat there. While they sat on the roof in the sunshine, we sat in the cinema all drinking a beer.
That is great.
It was fabulous. So it's a fantastic, I mean.
You didn't have to walk through like 4 football fields
we didn't have to
get home, did you?
No, we didn't. Although we did eventually. They said, thanks very much. It's all over now. You can go. So we got given our clothes back and we all got changed again, got dressed and walked out and then thought, where the hell are we? And nobody told us. And I think there was one, but it was quite early on. So there was one person who had a phone where they could sort of they said, well, I think if we walk down this way, there's a tube. And so you just got hundreds of people all walking down the street in suburban London.
Wow.
Having no idea where they were.
I've heard that they are very good, those secret cinemas.
It was fabulous, yeah. Very good fun.
Okay, then. We've reached your number one, Michael.
And it's to a large extent, it's going to be a film that I think a lot of people would never have heard of.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a surprise. Because you mentioned Star Wars earlier on as another movie. It didn't make your top 10.
Sadly, it didn't, no. No, it's not a film that I've been compelled to go back to. Okay. Do you know what I mean? I saw it, thought it was fantastic, thought it was amazing, but it never hooked me. The whole Star Wars thing never really hooked me like it has with lots of people. Well, you, I can see.
Yes.
But it never did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fabulous, but I moved on.
Right.
But a film that has stayed with me since I saw it as a young man. I think I saw it again. I saw this when I was just after I finished university. And I went with my wife, who was not my wife then, I don't think. Just before we got married. And it's a film that stars Peter O'Toole, and it's called My Favourite Year.
Right.
And it's if you've never seen it, it's one of those films, I think, that happened, was lovely, and then has just disappeared. You never see it repeated. You never see it anywhere. But if you look it up, it's really one of the most heartwarming films you could ever watch. It's a Wonderful Life-esque in a way. It's a film about a young man working on a daily television show with a character called King Kaiser. So based on Sid Caesar, the Sid Caesar show. Right. And every day he does his thing and he plays characters, does sketches and has guests on. And they have a team of writers who are sort of that team would have been Mel Brooks and Woody Allen, that sort of thing. So they've got characters based on those who are in his writing room. And the guest they're going to have on is a fading film star, a sort of a B-movie film star who used to do swashbuckling sort of heroic films. So he's called Alan Swan, and he's a famous drinker and womanizer, and everybody says he's a disaster. And they were saying, why we got Alan Swan? He's crazy. And then you meet this man, and it is Peter O'Toole at his absolute best. Astonishingly funny, astonishingly charming, outrageous in his behavior, beautifully sexy for a man who by then had drunk quite a lot and was getting on a bit. There's a scene where they first meet him, where he comes in to meet the writers at the television thing, and he's clearly very drunk. And he walks in with this great fedora on and says, "Gentlemen, I'm ready to say you're genius." And they go, okay, good, And somebody says, "I'm sorry, are you drunk?" And he said, "If I were drunk, could I do this?" And he then does a headstand on the table, the writer's table, stands up into a headstand and then falls flat on the table and with his legs either side of a cine projector, and then passes out. And it's absolutely hysterically funny and brilliantly done. And there's a young man in it called Benji Stone, who's given the job of looking after him. You look after him, keep him away from drink. We need him ready, and we need him to know the script for the show tomorrow. And over that sort of evening and day and everything, most beautiful things happen. Would you mind? I got to pop in and say hi to my mom, and would you mind? Wait, no, dear boy, let's meet them. And of course, he goes in and they have dinner, and he charms them all, and Benji's mum is very Jewish New Yorker, and she starts calling him Alan, and he said, "Mr. Swan." He's called Mr. Swan. "Don't call him Alan, Ma." I said, "Oh, Alan, you know what it's like. You're a father." "I am a father, indeed, yes." And it's the performances all through it are fabulous. And he of course, he does all things wrong. And this poor lad, she's charging around. But in a way, the lad sees what the possibilities of life. And he was from going a shy young boy in the television thing. It's the thing that launches him into life, seeing this man and what he does. There's a fantastically moving moment in it where they think they've lost him. He's gone, and he has a driver, obviously. And he says to this driver, you see shots of the film going somewhere, and he's got a young daughter that he reveals that he hadn't seen for years. And he drives to this place and stops outside a suburban house somewhere in another town. And then this woman comes out, and then the little girl comes out and gets on a bicycle and cycles up and down the street. And then she cycles past his limousine, and he's sort of looking out of the window. And as she does, he just raises the window, and it's darkened, so she can't see him. And then he says, "Take me back," to the driver. And it's really sad, but beautiful and beautifully done. He's an amazing actor, Peter O'Toole. In a way, that whole history of what he did and who he was as a person can sometimes swamp the fact that he was a brilliant actor.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant. I saw him in the street once, and he stopped the street. And I don't know how he did it. Some people have this ability. I was outside the Garrick Club, and I was walking along, and I thought, what's happened? Something strange has happened. You don't get that sense that, hang on a minute, everything's wrong. And the whole street got this sense. And we all stopped and looked at each other. I thought, why have we all stopped? And at that moment, Peter O'Toole walked up the steps of the Garrick Club with a great cape on, black cape, and a large black hat. And he took the cape off, swirled it around, and handed the hat and cape to the doorman and said, "Good evening, John," and went in.
Yeah.
And we all I looked around and everybody had stopped and looked at him.
That's crazy.
It's incredible power, because he didn't do it deliberately. He just had that thing. Yeah. The thing that is brilliant about this film is that right at the end, he's ready. I'm here. Oh, thank God you're here. Okay, right. We're going to do a thing in front of the cameras and everything. I know the script. Perfect. So I come in, I swing down, and he's pretending to be a sort of a swashbuckling hero, and he comes on and saves the day in this sketch. And they say, ready? He says, yes, it's fine. Anyway, we do it wrong. We can always have another take. And the fellow says, no, it's live. And Peter O'Toole stops in his tracks and says, I'm sorry. He said, it's live. It goes out live. He says, live? I've never performed live in my life. I'm a film star. I can't do that. He rushes out the studio and they think he's gone. And then they go, what are we going to do? And he said, well, we'll do the sketch, and we'll do a different ending. And they do the sketch, and at the point where he's supposed to come, he suddenly is on the balcony above the thing, and he swings in on a rope, and he fights and does it, and he does it brilliantly and saves the day. Very simple, nothing major happens in this film.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely gorgeous.
I think I need to watch it. I do.
Yeah.
It's funny because, was it last week or the week before? On one of my social media things, there was a clip, and it was the clip when... from My Favorite Year, when he goes into the ladies' toilet.
Yes.
And I've just looked at him and the lady says, this is for ladies only. And Alan Swan, unzipping his fly, says, so is this, ma'am. But every now and then I have to run a little water through it. And it's weird how that is your favourite movie. And I've never seen a clip of that until like a week before.
Right. So well, no, I mean, I say it to people, and nobody knows what I'm talking about, and so I have to. And you may well watch it and go, "Well, that was an enjoyable piece of fluff."
Yeah, but I think on any of the streaming services? Do you know?
I think you can find it. I think it is. Yes,
I'm going to have to. I think it's on
Netflix or something. Yeah. But it may be a little piece of whimsical fluff, but so are. So is Back to the Future. So is, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that in filmmaking, if you can make something like that and for it to stick with someone for their entire life, I've always loved it. And if anybody's ever said to me, what's your favorite film? I've said, My Favorite Year.
Yeah.
And that's it. So it has to be.
Well, I mean, it's as an all-round top 10. I mean, for the episodes that we've done so far, this is the closest to my my groove, if you like. So the fact that I feel I need to watch My Favorite Year because I've loved all the other movies that you've got.
If I put Star Wars at the number one, I may well have matched you.
It'd have been absolutely matched. So before we say goodbye, what have you got actually going on? Or are you just enjoying a bit of a rest at the moment?
I really am enjoying not doing anything.
Right.
I've done a couple of auditions, and I don't think I auditioned very well.
Right.
That sort of thing where you it's almost they look at you and say, "Do you want this job?" And you
really?
Not really. No, I don't. No,
so
I don't want to call.
You don't care whether you get the call for it or not.
No. I mean, the chances are I'll get them.
I was going to say that's a bit like Morgan Freeman when he goes in for his final parole hearing.
Yeah.
I don't care. You do what you want, Sonny. I don't give a shit. And yet it actually gets out that time.
That's how he gets out. Yeah. So maybe I'll get them all. Who knows?
We'll keep going on with the podcast, sir, because I absolutely love it. We'll put a link in the show notes for the podcast. Please go and listen to it. He's had some amazing guests on there, and I'm sure you've got some more amazing guests to come.
Yeah, we've got some lovely people coming up, so it's very exciting. We've got our 500th episode, and I have a very lovely guest lined up for that.
Wonderful. And for everybody else, all the information is in the show notes, so please click if you want to join our Patreon, all of that kind of stuff. Just go to the Patreon and go onto the show notes for that. Michael, always a pleasure. I don't care what kind of podcast.
If there's anything in there that was rubbish, we can always do it again.
Oh, no.
What?
There's never any rubbish, you see, with you, Michael. There's never any things that you need to cut out because it's all gold. It's all gold. So once again, Michael, it's honestly, anytime I get a chance to talk to you, it's an absolute pleasure. So thank you
Lovely to
so
see
much. Thank you very much, everybody else, for watching and listening. And bye, everyone.
Bye.